Hello. Or should I say, hello?
The £1,000 number in this week's City Lottery is LO383.
Hello and welcome to the second volume of Classic Radio Bloopers, moments when things didn't go quite as planned in broadcasting studios around the world.
I can just get my papers in order. Yes. Sorry? Somebody saying something? Yes, OK, we're rolling. That doesn't mean to say we're drinking alcohol.
Though by the end of this tape, you might not believe him.
A London bank clerk is claimed to have crossed the English Channel while on the bottle. It should read cross.
Liked it better the first way. So, welcome to another burst of bloopers, which, like the first one, donates its proceeds to the Wireless for the Blind Fund. Details on the sleeve of this tape. Now then, what's news?
It's 11 o'clock on the English service. And here is the I beg your pardon. Here is the news read by Stella Hare.
The weather forecast staying mostly cloudy this evening and tonight. Most places will be dry, but with some drizzle and hill fog.
Well, Nigel Wright from Shakatak, well, his sister has collected £65 from a whip round at the Coronation Tap. The BBC Tarts team, they've collected £1,000.
The Tarts team? Go on.
The Tarts team.
The kinds of problems faced by people with low vision.
I think the major problem is they fall between two stools.
One of three Labour MPs who just returned from a visit to Afghanistan has now said he'd seen very few Soviet troops and control of the city was clearly in Afghan hands.
President Ronald Reagan is alive and well and kicking tonight, one day after the assassination attempt, just 2.5 months into his pregnancy.
Let me turn to you, Derek Whittakus. Dave Whittakus? Derek. Dave Whittakus. You're the treasurer of the... Secretary.
Are you pre-recorded or live?
No, I'm live.
This is the Doll Studio, we want to know.
Well, we booked a line from the Hibernian.
Hello, London?
We booked a line from the Hibernian. Hello, Dublin?
Yes?
Yeah, we booked a line from the Hibernian.
Sorry, I can't hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
No.
There was a substitution for Rovers when David Stoniforth, who'd been troubled by injury over the weekend, was replaced by David Stoniforth midway through the first half.
Police in New Zealand are still giving no further details of the two people arrested over the bombing of the Greenpeace sheep, Rainbow Warrior.
He went on.
Beginning in the First Division at the baseball ground, Derby 1, Middlesbrough 0. The goal coming there in the second half, and the play held up because of grass on the pitch at one point. Glass, rather, not grass, glass on the pitch.
Your future plans, are you aiming to be one of the world's best pianists, say?
You mean violinist?
British actress
What was the Isle of Man's case today?
Well, it was mainly that birching doesn't do anybody any harm. It's a short, sharp shock. It's painless. It returns... Sorry, it's not painless, obviously.
Ubiquity is one thing, organisation's another. In my shaving mirror this morning, I observed with agitation the telltale signs. The bleary eyes, the blue-veined hooter, the shagging dewlaps. Sagging dewlaps. Oh, it's the sack. I'm gone.
They say they want to question a man. He's described as white, aged between 18 and 22, and 8 foot 10 inches tall.
Tonight, another debate between the two candidates. This time, the debate was in front of the lesbian and gay community of Denver. Deborah Quintana is standing by live right now at the Tracks nightclub where the debate took place. Debbie, I understand it's over. Anybody come out on top?
to be an increase in the bread subsidy to stop prices going up. There would otherwise have been a halfpenny rise on small loaves this week.
Keep those letters coming in. We love to hear from you, don't you, Dennis?
At least 170 people have died in Brazil's annual carnival in Rio de Janeiro. This time the deaths included 19 murders, one man dressed in women's lingerie, and a blonde wig was found strangled in a suburban slum.
Foremost of the social events must surely be the Lord Mayor's boil.
Mr. Vitaly Yurchenko, the man the United States hailed as a prize KGB defector, has been giving more details about how he allegedly kidnapped the CIA, was kidnapped by the CIA.
I'm Cooper Clark. You come from Manchester, which is the industrial capital of the north of England. Oh, dear, dear. Perhaps we ought to try dropping a key down his back.
To wind him up, no doubt.
And in the meantime, to wake you all up, here's a little bit of Dwayne Eddy. Well, I bet that really woke you up, didn't it, really? I don't think you minded that much. How would you like it if it were to be played at this speed? Just testing, you understand?
The thing I like about live radio is never quite knowing what's going to happen next.
I'll be back tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. But now the time is 11 o'clock. And we go to the newsroom for the news read by, I can't remember who it is, but over to the newsroom.
9 o'clock, and I'll read you the news when I can find it. At the moment, I've lost it. Okay, I found it. Here we are.
Oh, good.
In Washington, General Bradley's speech today was one of several interesting news developments dealing with our military defenses. Here's a summary by Gunner Back. We seem to be unable to contact Washington at this time. Let's try once again. Our cue to Washington is here is a summary by Gunner Back. Sorry, we seem to be unable, for some inexplicable reason, to contact correspondent Gunner Back in Washington, even as we have contacted him every night for the past 8 years. Well, now then, to the nation's sports fans, the biggest news in quite a while is building tonight in Chicago, where world heavyweight champion Rocky Marciano is about to meet that challenge from ex-champ Jersey Joe Walcott. We sent correspondent Tom Casey to the weighing-in ceremonies today, and he recorded this report at that dramatic scene. Well, Mother told me there would be days like this. Shall we try once again for Chicago? Calling Tom Casey in Chicago. Our cue is this report at that dramatic scene. Unfortunately, we had been told earlier today that Tom Casey had recorded a very fascinating report at the weighing-in ceremonies in which he had the voices of both Joe Walcott and Rocky Marciano. Let's see what else we have in the news to talk about this evening on a memorable headline edition, at least to me. Suppose we come back to you in just a moment or two. On this cue, I'll be back in a minute with more news.
Headline Edition is one of over 60 top ABC news shows brought to you each week by a distinguished staff of reporters, analysts, and commentators. ABC specializes in swift, accurate, and complete reporting of the latest happenings here and abroad. That kind of news coverage doesn't just happen. A trained newsman fills in the coloring that the event to life, but it takes an experienced correspondent to know how that event fits the overall news pattern. Now, here again is Headline Edition.
With portions transcribed What portions?
What portions indeed. Still, if you don't have any inserts or portions in a news bulletin, you can't go wrong, can you?
A report out today says Britain's only secure girls' borstal is the most violent, troubled institution in the country. The report's by a new pressure group called Keep Out and says the borstal, Bulwood Hall near Southend in Essex, is a penile dustbin. A penal dustbin.
Merseyside County Council has won a High Court case over its cheap bus fare schemes paid for by a supplementary rate. An application by a major ratepayer to overturn the rates levy was dismissed. The judge, Mr. Justice Wolfe, said there were similarities with the GLC's cheap fares scheme, but there were significant differences too. I'm going to sneeze. I sneezed.
Next Thursday, Friday the 18th, the people of the Irish Republic go to the polls to elect a new government.
I don't believe that. But then I've come to mistrust lots of facts and figures I hear on the radio.
Voting in the general election is now well underway, and by the time the polling stations close at 10 o'clock tonight, 30 people are expected to have turned out.
And one of them even came back from a posting in Kenya, just for the election.
And when he arrived at the airport in Nairobi, he was carrying with him not only sort of normal insignia of his rank, such as a cap and his sword and so on, but he was also lumbered with various other pretty hurriedly assembled items of baggage, and his wife.
I think even I could have put that better, though I believe she wasn't very pleasant, to say the least. Even her hubbies admitted that.
He comments that in a free society, any political group must be free to meet at election time in support of its nominated candidates, however loathsome their wives may be. Their views may be, rather.
I really think we'd be much better off if everything was pre-recorded from now on. We'd surely get it perfect then.
Violet Carson died at the age of 85 on Boxing Day. Her funeral at a local parish church in Blackpool was a strictly private affair. Yes?
I just couldn't hear you at all because there was too much music. Can you do it again?
Okay. Okay, is this the right level for you now? Can you hear me now over the music? Okay. All right. Okay, we go now. Violet Carson died at the age of 85 on Boxing Day. Her funeral at her local parish church in Blackpool was a... What?
Turn the music down.
All right, I'll turn it down as low as I can. Violet Carson died at the age of 85 on Boxing Day. Her funeral at her local parish church in Blackpool was a strictly private affair. So today is the first opportunity that her... Oh, God, hold on for 1 second. All right, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do it now without... I'll do it again, doing it, monitoring it on the other thing. Hold on, see if this sounds better.
I doubt it. In fact, let's move on to one of the drama studios. How about Doc Green?
Don't just stand there, get!
I haven't got it, Mr. Nolan.
Now listen, Weasel, if I don't get that necklace back right now, they'll never be able to put you together again.
I ain't got it. It's down at Doc Green Dick.
The Nick?
The Nick, yeah, sorry. Why they write scripts like this, for Christ's sake? Stop laughing.
Now don't just stand there, get!
I haven't got it, Mr. Nolan.
Now listen, Weasel, if I don't get that necklace right now, they'll never be able to put you together again.
But I haven't got it. It's down at Dick Green Dock. Oh,
I can't help it! I can't help it!
What is it called?
Doc Green Nick.
Doc Green Nick.
Come on, love, hurry.
Doc Green Nick.
Very quiet.
Can't I just say it's down at the Nick?
No, in a word. This is the second volume of classic radio bloopers from the world of radio. With me, that was a minute ago.
Now, this one is for you, Sarah.
Promise me you won't edit that.
Well, For those listeners who are listening at home, I'd just like to tell you, Sarah Kennedy was supposed to be on the show tonight, but unfortunately she's been taken ill, and John Junkin has stood in, but I haven't crossed it out of my script. John Junkin.
Yes. Yes, Edith, yes.
This one's for you.
And I bet it's a tough one.
In which state of the United States was President Kennedy assassinated? In Texas.
Gosh, I think we'll have to pass on that one.
And the next question, what does ephemeral... Colin? What does ephemeral... Ephemeral. Yeah. What does ephemeral mean? Ephemeral. OK, Britain Ferry, have a go.
Queer.
Well, that'll do, temporarily.
For 2 points, who was King Arthur's invisible knight? Sorry, who was King Arthur's invincible knight?
You know, I'm getting really confused, but then I'm not alone. How about a simpler quiz?
And, Brian, what is your offering?
Hello? I think it's Sir John Radcliffe, the maternity department.
Oh, will you tell me why?
Because of the 20 tiny fingers, 20 tiny toes.
Ah, no, I don't think you quite got the idea of the quiz, Brian. It's supposed to be local towns or villages. You obviously hadn't got that bit.
No, I missed that bit.
And I don't...
I'm in late.
I don't think there's a village I know called the John Radcliffe.
No.
There is a place called Nuffield, but Nuffield...
Yeah, Field Maternity, yeah.
No, so it's a local town or village, Brian.
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
Have another go.
Yeah.
Thanks very much indeed.
Let's return to the quiz now, though. It sounds like this today. Right, now name me that. Local town or village. No, that was the news jingle. This is what the quiz sounds like.
I don't think I even care now. I'll just go out in the garden and lie down.
We're now talking about pelargoniums, and this question was about geraniums. Just explain, will you?
The family Geraniaceae is the linking factor. Two quite separate genera of plants, geranium and pelargonium, but people still persist in calling pelargoniums geraniums, but we are talking about pelargoniums, meaning pelargoniums.
I want to ask, you see, I wonder could you help me with just one wee problem
Certainly,
before I go, you see.
yes.
You see, the woman next door, she has convulsions in her garden.
Oh, my God. Yes.
Oh, she's awful troubled with them.
What do they look like?
And they've started to come through to me.
What are the symptoms, Mrs. McGill?
Well, it's this wee white thing, you see. It's a wee white flower, and it runs, oh, Mr. Dear, it takes a turn race up her wire, you see.
Up her wire?
Aye.
Would that be convolvulus?
What?
You say it's convulsions.
Yes, that's what she calls it, convulsions.
Would it be convolvulus, do you think?
Oh, I don't know. I've never seen it.
Perhaps the only way to get answers to questions is to sit down in the tranquility of a recording studio and make sure the question is absolutely 100% crystal clear and concise.
John, can I take up with you an aspect of your work which has to do with your preoccupation with detail and has also to do with your characters' detailed responses to experience? What I have in mind here is that you often in your writing depict people engaged in trivial activities and who are living lives of the most crashing boredom, and you are frighteningly good at depicting this quotidian, cliched, repetitive activity which fascinates you because of its daily futility, the way in which people fritter away the precious days in formal, useless activities of this kind. I noticed, for example, the vividness, and it seems paradoxical to say vividness, but it is vividness, of your depiction of the boredom of the guests in the boarding house, for example, in Strand Hill at Sea. You know, the short story about Strand Hill. Yes. you're achieving the thing that Coleridge was after. You know, when he said, wasn't it Coleridge who said that if you wanted to depict a bore, you must never be boring. You seem to me to have a remarkable capacity for depicting bores and the boredom of existence without ever, in fact, boring. You are fascinated by cliché in speech and by cliché in behavior. Your policemen, they...
Well, sure, but, you know, either everything is important or nothing is important.
Yes.
Couldn't put it better myself. Now, among the letters I got as a result of Volume 1 was one here expressing disappointment that I hadn't included a classic King of the Beasts blooper. Fear not. It's coming up on side 2, along with a load of sport also promised. That's all to come, but we ain't through with this side yet.
I think Christmas is a wonderful thing. I think they should have it every year.
Vice President Humphrey got a boost for a new job today. Senator George McGovern, Democrat of South Dakota, says the Vice President would be a good man to head a worldwide war on Hungary. Or rather, hunger.
I'm sitting here waiting for your calls, and you know what I think? I reckon that you're all sitting at home watching Wimbledon. Well, that's no good. I'm not going to play with myself for an hour, so I suggest you get on the phone, give me a ring on 38942, and we'll have a great morning.
I was away 13 months, and they circumcised the world.
There are quite a few stray cats about, so pet owners are strongly advised to put a collar on their cat, or their dog for that matter, so that the authorities know the difference.
The latest report is that the grass pollen count is averaging 99 grains per cubic metre of hair.
Oh, he's right, folks. Come on and join the fun in the most righteous 90 minutes of how... Righteous!
Your team, I would like to acquire for my daughter's birthday at the end of March an electric organ. Many thanks, says Mrs. Morgan. That's Mrs. Morgan wants an organ. And...
Four leading jumpies. Four leading jogging... I'll start again. 4 leading jumping jockeys have been warned by the Victoria.
On Christmas morning, all my pipes burst. That quite exhausted me.
He is even engaged in appearances in a Cinerama film epic, Grand Prix, in which he and other Grand Prix drivers play themselves.
Dr. Maziri is regarded as a man in a calmer mode, and if elected, is expected to carry on Sir Soretsi's policies.
I'd spend a lot of time at home playing with myself. Oh, I didn't say that. Fooling around on the piano and the guitar.
Glenn Hoddle scoring Spurs goal there, celebrating the daughter of his birthday yesterday.
It's become clear police were waiting in a restaurant in Hampstead for several hours last night before Martin arrived, expecting to meet a girlfriend. The restaurant manager, Tom Chilton, says the first he knew of it when 3 diners suddenly got up and dashed out.
Racing at Warwick is also off. That was planned for tomorrow, and snow and frost on the runways, or the runways, I think it's probably the wrong word, isn't it?
Yes.
In Sitrep this week, we asked the question, what would happen if Britain did stock chemical weapons? We also talked to a gunsmith who was invited to conceal a laser-sighted submarine gun in a briefcase.
Did he say why he committed suicide?
No, he was dead.
An assassination attempt has failed. Shots were fired at his ear and at his car as it was being driven along a motorway near Mönchengladbach.
The back of the recording form has pictures of the 7 butterflies we're asking people to record.
And these include the Painted Lady, Rear Admiral,
Peacock and small tortoiseshell.
Which are you first, a Greek or a Cypriot?
Well, I'm a Greek Cypriot.
I'm a complete ignoramus.
Dominic Horrid, what's been happening there this first formal session of the IMF today?
Well, several things.
We asked Geoffrey Blythe what affects David's isolate. We asked Geoffrey Blythe what affects David isolate. We asked Geoffrey Blythe what affects David isolate.
Stop.
Dr. Alfred Block. Like the Pope, he is Jewish, but he is not a Roman Catholic. Like the Pope, he is Polish, but he is not a Roman Catholic, he is Jewish.
To the 16th tee, where we will show you in slow motion Arnold Palmer, U.S. Opium Champion.
And right now on the Tony Blackburn Show, this is the time I like, because it's tea time once again, and somebody's just fallen off the chair. So
time is coming up to 6.5 minutes past 5 o'clock. I hope you enjoyed your bank holiday yesterday, if you managed to have it off.
Dr. Fitzgerald spent yesterday with Mrs. Thatcher at Chequers, the first Anglo-Irish summit for 2 years. Later today, he'll be meeting with the Liberal and SDP leaders. Sorry about that, a microphone's just fallen to pieces in the studio.
And from the British Broadcasting Corporation, you heard World Roundup.
And that's more or less it for side 1, but there's lots more on side 2, okay?
Okay, it's a little bit late, but nevertheless welcome at approaching 10 to 10, and it's the final radio goof. It's time now for the final radio goof. Well, I'm afraid we're unable to bring you the... Well, I'm afraid we're unable to bring you the final radio goof tonight, so let's play the next record. By the way, as far as the radio goofs are concerned, there's still a lot in the can, and we'll give those to Dave Barrett for his new Sunday show, OK? I'm going out of my head with it.
Mr. Edwin Starr, H-A-P-P-Y. I hope you've enjoyed yourself being with me for the last 1.5 hours. I've certainly enjoyed myself being with you. But now over to the next program. Well, maybe we won't go over to the next program because we've got a bit of a wobbly, if you see what I mean. We're just going to rectify it right this minute.
Yes, it's that time of the day again. I'm Gavin Maguire. The programme is in all directions, and with me is...
As ever, Phil J. And I must say I thoroughly enjoyed the Sunset Show, didn't you?
Thank you, thank you. What Sunset Show?
What am I thanking you
for? Yes.
No, listen. Oh, God. You can't say what Sunset Show. Oh, God. The Sunset Show is the show that precedes us, you see, so you can't say what Sunset Show.
Good night from Night Final with Graham Freer, Tony Duggan, and Stephanie Norris. I beg your pardon.
Our next programme should be fun, and it'll be different anyway.
Now, could you just could you react to my in a future programme? Say our next programme.
Oh right. Yeah. But I've got myself down as doing this bit.
You've sorry, it's me. That's why. Ah, right.
I was a bit shocked.
And we'll be hearing from her again in a future programme.
Where's the signature tune?
Let's have the signature tune.
Oh. We'll have to do that bit again.
Now we have a special treat for you this, Thursday, isn't it? Thursday evening, because once again the machinery and I are not getting on very well, and the little machine which plays the signature tune is not going to work, so Alan is going to sing it for us. This has been Thursday's Home, James. Nick St George in the chair since 4:05. Thanks for joining me. Thanks also to our special guests, the Dooleys, and to those two lovely fashion students who came along from the Handsworth Technical College.
The main reason why tapes like this are possible is that people in the world of broadcasting are generally such good sports.
Good evening, this is Phil Tottle welcoming you to another edition of Soccer Final. And straight away, Colin Howlett gets us underway with the Gloucester County League.
I was going to start with the Western League, but...
Queen's Park Rangers against Sunderland tops the First Division bill in London this afternoon, and after their performance in Bratislava on Wednesday, Rangers ought to attract a big crowd to Loftus Road today. In North...
That deserves a pat on the back. And there's more from QPR to come.
In the second half, Matlock put on some early pressure, and both Mick Fanity and Gary Coupland had good chances from close in, but missed good opportunities.
And with that rending of a Christmas Carol coming in at a rather inappropriate time, goodness knows what happened there on the communications line to Cheshire. We certainly got the result right anyway.
Newcastle, obviously, in that position, have had a very bad season. But as their manager, what's his name?
Bill McGarry.
But as their manager, Bill McGarry, told Phil Tottle.
They equalised from the penalty for Scots.
Now, the First Division, Green Park Rangers 2, Lock Hall 0. Harding Sports 6, Percy Sports 0. Liberal Sports... excuse me. Liberal Sports...
The trouble with giggles is they creep up on you from behind, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. Not when you're live.
Division 1, Brackley Town 3, Viking Sports 1. Morris Motors 2, Badminton 3. Presteel 0, Doughty Staverton 0. Rayners Lane 3, Easington Sports 0. Worrell Hill 2... Quick sneeze and on we go. Worrell Hill 2, AFC Aldermaston 1. I'll give you that one again. Worrell Hill 2, AFC Aldermaston 1.
In Division 2, Woodfield 0, Ardley 7. Turner's Arms 5, Finmere 2. Hayford Athletic 1, Islip 3. Marsh Gibbon 17, Western 1. Good Lord, what a score there at Marsh Gibbon, Gary. Middleton Cheney 2, Piddington 3. In Division 3, Ardley 4, Deddington 4, Fritwell 0, Steeple Aston 7, Heath 2, Charlton 0, Brill 2, Hayford United 6, Merton 1. Rather thrown by the Marsh Gibbon score, I fear.
Not to worry. Worse things happen at Ashton Gate, apparently.
Queen's Park Rangers manager Frank Sibley came to Ashton Gate, watched his team draw 2-2, and then announced that he was with Queen's Park... Queen's Park Rangers. I can't say it.
It's all falling apart, isn't it?
Thanks, Richie. Well, a little earlier I told you about Terry Marsh from Basildon in Essex. He was fighting this afternoon for the European light welterweight title against the Italian Alessandro Scapecci. As I told you, he won that title in Monte Carlo. Here are the closing stages described by Ian Darke.
So in the sixth round, Marsh now looking more and more positive. I think he wants to get this job over with quickly because he knows about the cut, and he's throwing a great deal of leather, hooks, jabs, and lovely dazzling array of punches from him. It's a very impressive exhibition.
Right, well, hopefully you can hear us again. I think we went off the air somewhat briefly there, but there are all sorts of funny electronic things going on this afternoon. We've already lost the lights once, which is a slight problem when you're trying to read scores. But here at 1.5 minutes past 4, if the clock's right now that the power's stopped, the pools news today is 6 score draws and 4 no-score draws, and I'm sure you can deduce from that that the dividend forecast is very good. Telephone claims required then for 22 points. Dividend forecast is very good. You'll be able to check those at 5 to 6 when we have our reading of the classified football results. Now that's going to be one of the classic moments of broadcasting history, because as the clocks are going back tonight. We have to obviously change them at some time, and so the engineers have been in here this afternoon, and they've been changing the clocks over. And so they've actually turned all the clocks in the studios back an hour. But so that dumbos like me don't give out the wrong time, they put another clock in front of it. And that was the clock that was in front of the other clock that's just fallen off the wall and landed in front of me.
And that clock's got to go back tonight to its rightful owner.
Finally, let me remind you that the clocks are due to go back tonight. Summertime ends officially at 2 a.m.
Which means that British winter time's about to begin.
Finally, British winter time, is now officially with us. The clocks went back by 1 hour earlier this morning.
Along with the empties and the old newspapers. Right, let's return to a rather less common kind of sport.
The sort of croquet that most people tend to play in their back gardens is really what's called golf croquet, in that the aim is to get your balls through hoops and knock your opponent into the shrubbery.
Gosh.
In association croquet, the idea isn't to knock your opponent's balls into the shrubbery, but to use them in order to make what are called breaks.
Sounds even more painful. The things they get up to in upper-class shrubberies.
Well, in garden croquet, I've noticed that this aspect of the game tends to make it rather malicious or mischievous. Do you think there is this side to croquet?
Certainly there is. Some of the exponents try to make out that there is not. Splendid interruption. Some of the experts maintain that it's not. This is a very good example of the malice of croquet. The unfortunate brigadier has played with Mrs. Rotherham's ball. The balls have to go back, and he gives up his turn.
That was lovely. More bloopers after this. And you know what? I started the wrong turntable. And you know what? This is true. I'm never going to live this down. I haven't got a record to play. Just to prove it, look at it.
It's true. Isn't that great?
You know what's happened? I started the wrong turntable. I then looked to the other turntable, which has been running all the flipping time, and the record has ended and hasn't even been heard on the air. And that, I promise you, is the absolute truth.
Tell you what, Tom, that bloke lurking there in the corner's all set to play a tune called Conkers. Off you go, mate.
Take one. Conkers, take one. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Here we go.
When I was much younger, my brothers and me used to play games round a big Concord tree. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Oh, dear. I don't think I'm treating this with the seriousness it deserves, actually, too. Oh, dear. True. Conkers, take two.
Do it. Oh, God. Oh, I'm sorry. No.
Okay, I'll try it now. I think I'll be okay.
I think we'd best give up and go back to where we were. We've had enough corpses.
The police found the body with its legs and arms dismembered, tied into a sack and floating in the bay. I'll be back with more sports in a moment.
Hi there, you lovely lot. On BFBS UK today, I'm going to be talking to Charles Austin, our man about the world of the countryside. Yes, this is a trail jingle that's gone absolutely strange, man. I mean, listen to that orchestra. Has nobody paid the band? What's the matter? Come on, Betsy, you can do it. Come on, guys. Come on.
Greetings, Nick
poppers. Had to happen, didn't it?
I suppose it did, in time.
Well, the time is now coming up to 24 minutes to 2, and we'll go back to Lord's, and the man waiting to fill us in, having had a very good lunch, I sincerely hope, is Henry Blofeld.
Good afternoon to you all from Lord's. Yes, indeed, from Lord's. We had an extremely good lunch. The England players are coming out, Gower and Bob Taylor. The umpires are out there, David Constant waiting patiently at square leg in a sitting position. Mosin is 64. He it is who's going to take strike now from Ian Botham, who's doing some of those splendid exercises patented by Alan Knott. And our producer comes into the box and kicks over 2 chairs and 3 glasses, hence the noise.
I wonder if any of the milk was spilt.
I hear you're a cricket fan, is that right? Where are you going next week?
To France.
Oh, to Lourdes. I thought you said to Lords.
I think he and the gang are fed up with those not very good golf lessons they've been having.
I've always wanted to play golf, and so I thought it would be a good thing to know the rudiments of golf.
Have you learnt a lot?
Yes, I have. How to hold the golf cue.
I think that deserves a prize, don't you?
But now your chance to win 2 tickets to go and see City play Orient last week.
You don't get those sort of problems in tennis. They're right on the ball, aren't they?
Oh, that's an ace.
Game Fleming and McEnroe.
It's the very same service that Tom did twice to him and he said was a fault. Exactly the same. Might have been just inside
Fleming
the
and
sideline.
McEnroe lead, 3 games to 1, third set.
So, 3-1. Who are they going to play in the final? Do we know yet?
This is the final.
Oh, what am I talking about? Sorry. That little bit between you and me should go in the piece they do put together of all our fluffs.
And lo and behold, there it was.
And the Volvo Masters tennis final ended in a decisive win for John McEnroe. He beat Ivan Lendl in straight sets, 6-3, 6-4, 6-4.
Perhaps we'd better take our leave of sport and do something different, like a phone-in.
As there are in a lot of the local boroughs, thousands of people on the waiting list, what actually happens to them?
Hello, Michael. Do you fancy a game of tennis this afternoon?
Oh, dear me, we've got a funny cross line there. Well, I don't know whether Michael fancies a game of tennis, but I don't know whether John Moore's still there discussing council property, are you?
Oh, never mind. We'd better go to the next caller, because she's been holding on for ages.
Hello, Betty.
Yes?
Yes.
I'm holding on.
Good. Start talking.
I'm holding on.
Yes, we know you're holding on, Betty.
Yeah?
You've got to let go now and really go for it.
All right, thank you.
What's the problem?
Let go, do you see?
No, dear. Right, before we get into deeper water, we'll leave it there, Betty. Thank you very much for your call.
Let's try Olive. We need someone to come up with a subject that we can really get our teeth into.
What do you mean by teaching children about sex?
It's only when you've experienced the danger and the worry of sex, unless you understand it and are taught it by your parents, it ruins your life.
What do you mean by taught it by your parents,
Well,
Olive?
just a minute, I'll put my teeth in.
That might help a bit, yeah.
This is Classic Radio Bloopers Volume 2.
Now let's have a look at the latest headlines. Northern Ireland, 20 members of the IRA have been arrested in the past 48 years. 48 hours, I should have said, of course.
That's news of the government's white paper on teachers' pay. And word has just reached us that the BEA Go Slow is ended with settlement of the work to rule by pilots of British European Airways. The British European Airways.
Well, Frank Huff, thank you very much indeed for your views here. I wonder whether people would agree with you, or whether they think perhaps the unions are just expressing sour grapes.
An Italian company had managed to sell Rolls-Royce their equipment by bribing a Rolls-Royce executive. Peter Allen has the details. Well, Peter Allen's obviously set off at a withering pace. I don't think he's going to keep that up.
So that brings us to the end of our programme. Now let's have a look at the Cop Soccer.
Soccer, and Australia staged a great second-half revival to defeat New Zealand 3-1 in the first leg of their Oceania World Soccer Cup qualifying series at the Sydney Cricket Ground today.
In England, the results of today's matches in the World Cup Soccer
World Cup Soccer Series.
The Robert Marks Metropolitan Police Act established a regular force in the metropolis. Metropolis.
He's in our Ottawa studio this morning. Good morning, Jack.
Good morning, Terry.
The title, The Age of Wonders, is an interesting one. What is it all... Oh, I forgot my own question. Isn't that awful?
And now for a look at tonight's city news. Here's... No, I'm sorry, it's not.
Well, that's the national and international news for the moment. Now, back to... I'm not quite sure who we're going back to, actually. Jeremy Eccles will try.
First of all, Horizon tonight on BBC Two is doing a programme about the motorcycle, Survival of the Fastest.
Those are the main Saturday evening sports headlines. Let's catch up with our final match reports now. And we start by going to Wembley for news of the FA Vase final, which Stamford won, beating Gisborne Town, as we hear now from Andrew Gidley.
FA Vase is on its way to England with the cup.
Very excited Andrew Gidley by the sound of things. I think we will be returning to Andrew a little later on this afternoon.
Queen arrives in Glasgow shortly to open an art gallery purpose-built to house a multi-million-pound collection that's been undercover for 40 years. Jackie McPherson reports.
It took millionaire shipping magnate Sir William.
Jackie McPherson doesn't report there.
A brief look at some news from overseas.
During the 40 years he was in films, James Mason was nominated for 3 Oscars. He never actually won an Oscar.
OK, then, this is the first time the Liberal Party have met since the election in which they dropped 3 of their best-known MPs.
Lloyd was beaten in straight sex, 7-5, 6-2, 6-love.
Islanders, he claims, are mere prawns in a union wrangle.
And now a whole troop of camels. A whole troop of camels with the flag flying above them, rifles in hand, right past me here.
Now, you're not taking the ship on Monday when it leaves with the crew of girls. Have you actually had a crew of girls yourself yet at all?
16 people are now being held under the Prevention of Terrorism Act.
The next time I had to get tooth out and he gave me a little prick in my hand, and that was much less painful.
Well, here we are, the big one. Can Audrey Durham, our local girl from Chard in Somerset, win the individual Tarts Championship?
Now, before Sport on 4, a quick mention that at 9:05, Bernard Falk presents Breakaway. We shall be going south to the Scottish Highlands and north to the Scottish Highlands and south to the Eternal City.
In another upset, Tim Mayotte put out Mats Wilander. That's it. More sport and the latest snooker news just after 2.
I would hope that the Brighton Council will agree to set up a body to look into the costs of funerals.
Clyde Small, BBC, Moscow, Washington. Sorry, wherever I am.
And the weather forecast. Most places will stay dry with some sunny intervals. Patchy mist and fog will form tonight, especially in the northwest. That's the news at 1:05.
Still on rugby, in Bristol Imperials' 25th annual 7-a-side tournament at the West Town Lane, Old Redcliffeans beat Old Elizabethans. I'm sorry, I can't say the word. What I'm trying to say is that Old Redcliffeans won that event.
And later in today's programme, Greater London... I'm so sorry. This is The World at 1, and this is Robin Day with 40 minutes of news and comment this Tuesday lunchtime.
After today, I'm going to be a one-man woman.
Like the St. Paul's riots, unless local schools encourage people to realise that young blacks are Bristolians born and bred. Paul Stevenson, who now works in London, said that schools in the city should encourage children to understand more about each other's cultures.
What do you actually use to build a sandcastle?
Sand.
Are you getting married in white?
Yes.
What are you wearing?
A dress.
Elton John, don't let your sun go down on, don't let the sun go down on me at CKLB in Oshawa, 3 minutes before 12 o'clock.
The other end of the green, there's going to be an evangelical mission, 3 evenings a week with a small strip.
Holidays are a dream that becomes a reality. And if the manager goes away for a week's holiday, a fortnight's holiday, it is possible for the service to deteriorate in that hotel. It's such a sensitive sort of organism, you see.
2 days ago, one sheep was badly mauled by me, another one killed by a neighbour.
By you? I thought we were talking about...
You can now buy some admirable packaged puff pastry from the shops, and it's economical too. According to the wrapper, each packet contains enough for 4 persons or 12 little tarts.
At Huddersfield tomorrow, there's a play day in the town centre pizza, or piazza, should I say.
Dr. Daniele has developed a technique for dismantling bits of amoeba to form a new living organism. I beg your pardon.
One year I vote Republican, the next year I vote Democrat. I'm bisexual.
Do you think that there might be problems involved with discipline and making sure children don't have accidents and things like that?
I doubt it, actually.
But what about someone in a wheelchair?
Somebody in a wheelchair can move probably quite a lot faster than somebody on 2 pairs of legs.
This is Classic Radio Bloopers Volume 2. In the theatre, they say never work with children or animals. That applies to radio as well.
There is growing bitterness here in Newry this evening. There is growing bitterness here in Newry this evening over conflicting accounts of how the 2 men died and the attempts that were made to rescue them. The British Army say they were prevented by a hostile crowd from trying to get into the shop. They say the front door was locked and the front windows sealed with metal grills. They claim this... Hello?
Yeah, keep going.
There is growing bitterness here in Newry this evening over conflicting accounts of how the 2 men died and the attempts that were made to rescue them.
See what I mean?
Hello, Norman, how are you?
Hello, Louis. Very well, thank you. And you?
Oh, it's nice to be in the warm.
Yes, it is.
Just looking out the window there. I hope it doesn't settle.
Joan, excuse me, Joan, come to the door, will you? So somebody at the door, so I just called the wife. My query is, very few days after I was born, my father, who'd seen me on many occasions... Are you still there?
Yes.
Oh.
Could you just make sure the dog doesn't bite the chap?
Oh, no, that's all right, yes. He's outside now.
Oh, he's okay then, is
Yes.
he? Phew, that's a relief.
Sorry about that.
It's all right, no, it's wonderful.
Well, at least you wouldn't find too many folk fooling around with the big cats, would you?
At 10 o'clock this morning, this will be one of the most dangerous places on Earth. The very ground on which I'm standing will be the territory of the King of the Beasts. Security is very tight. We've come through a couple of large gates and we're surrounded by high wire fencing. And with me is the operations manager, Ian Small. Ian, how dangerous are these lions then?
Well, all lions are dangerous. People have the impression that just because they're in a safari park that they're tame, but this is untrue. You cannot take any chances with them whatsoever.
You get an obvious sense of security here because standing behind us is a gentleman with a rifle. Can we go and have a closer look at the lions?
Well, certainly.
Well, there's one giving an early morning yawn at the moment.
Don't get too close, that's what she's saying.
There they are, the pride of Longleat. Oh dear. Are you ever prepared for the day when perhaps you may come face to face with one?
For one thing, I would never get into the situation where I would have to find my way out of it.
What would you do?
It depends on the situation that you're in.
Look for a tree?
I think I'd look for a new pair of trousers, to be truthful.
Phew. It's bad enough even having to do a report about big game in a radio studio.
There was a run on wildlife dung during the recent visit of the Gemini circus to Kisumu. The buyers were local people who wanted to use the dung for traditional medicine. The excreta of elephant, lions and tigers were in big demand. According to one source, a small heap... According to one source, a small heap of elephant... Oh, God, sorry. We're away.
Oh, good.
According to one source, a small heap of elephant dung... According to one source, a small heap of elephant dung weighing about 100 grams... Oh, God. According to one source, a small heap of elephant dung weighing about 100 grams was being sold for 5 shillings. Lion dung... Well, we've got to lion dung anyway, we're getting there.
But getting where, we ask?
Ah, yeah. Lion dung, which was rare, sold for twice as much.
I don't believe it.
It's just a disappointed man now, isn't it? That's... Yes, right. Mm.
Go on. A disappointed man?
A disappointed man from Kakamega waited vainly for 2 days, hoping the lions and tigers would excrete. Oh, God. I'll do that again, shall I? According to one source, a small heap of elephant dung weighing about 100 grams was being sold for 5 shillings.
Listen, we're almost out of time on this tape, so get a move on, will you?
According to one source, a small heap of elephant dung weighing about 100 grams was being sold for 5 shillings. Lion dung, which was rare, sold for twice as much. A disappointed man from Kakamega waited vainly for 2 days, hoping the lions and tigers would excrete.
Well done.
Well done indeed. And as I said, children are no easier to work with either.
On the cover we can only afford one colour, plus black. So this was something I could do to...
It's... The cover seems to have quite a few... That's a potty.
And that's also it for now. Nice to be with you again. Hope you've had a few chuckles. Cheers.